Book summary of Find Your Why by Simon Sinek with David Mead and Peter Docker. Introduction. Simon Sinek formulated this guide to help people find a purpose for themselves and their teams. In his book, Start with Why, he provides reasons why you should have a why for what you do every day. To give people a step-by-step guide to discover their why and to live a fulfilling life, there is a need to find your why. In the book, he begins by stating that fulfillment is a right for everyone, not just a privilege for a few. All of us have to live a fulfilled life. Happiness is a temporary feeling compared to fulfillment. To be fulfilled, one must connect to their why and feel a part of something bigger than themselves. Learn to relate whatever you do to the why or the reasons why you do it. Find the purpose of your work, or why you wake up every day to do that same job. What keeps you going? The first example comes from the story of Steve, an engineer who runs a company that produces lightweight steel that aims to preserve our environment for our children in the future. Certainly, telling the world about your vision is not enough. Otherwise, it will just remain as part of your imagination. Rather, you have to put in the effort to make it a reality. Chapter 1. Start with Why. In Chapter 1, Simon takes us through a summary of Start with Why and further explains the importance of why everyone should know their why. In Start with Why, Simon explains the golden circle model that most successful leaders such as Steve Jobs and others achieve their successes, yet other brilliant and more advantaged individuals in life failed to achieve the same results. Here, the golden circle consists of why, how, and what we do. It may be difficult to answer why we do it, but the other two can be answered. The author pointed out that the why is far deeper than most people think. Generally, people work to make money, but why do they need that money? Why do they get up every morning? And why do they care about the things they do? In most cases, when selling items, people don't talk about why they are selling a specific item. The client can easily move on to another vendor since they won't have the loyalty to continue purchasing from you. Loyalty is earned through deeper relations than what the buyer will receive in terms of features and benefits. Whenever you're pitching sales, you should always start with why, because it will greatly influence your buyer emotionally. The why and how is usually challenging to explain, but this is biological since in the golden circle, the two inner circles correspond to the limbic system responsible for behavior and decision-making. While this part of the brain is not capable of language, but we must learn to use it to say out the why in our life to achieve fulfillment and live a purposeful life. If you know your why, it's like a jigsaw piece that fits exactly where it should. According to Simon, if you're looking for a career, you can either hunt blindly for opportunities or know your intention and find your right fit where you share the same beliefs. Chapter 2. Discover your why. Chapter 2 gives an overview of why you should discover your why. If it adds passion to your work, it is an investment worth making. This later on leads to long-term fulfillment for you as a person and allows you to find your right fit in the future if you happen to seek another occupation in the future. Thus, entrepreneurs need to discover their why so they can communicate their vision and culture accurately to their employees. Over time, it will help them hire the right people who fit in the company culture. When a team knows its why, it can connect deeply and emotionally, resulting in higher productivity at work. Throughout the book, Simon describes the basic steps that people can take to discover their why. Step 1. Take the time to collect as many stories that you vividly remember from your past. If these stories have left a lasting impression on you, feel free to share them with a friend or partner with whom you are doing this exercise in depth. Step 2. Identify the major themes in your stories. Step 3. write down a simple and actionable why statement in the following format. 2. Contribution, so that, impact. Chapter 3. Why Discovery for Individuals. This chapter explores the steps involved in the personal discovery of your why. This process is the same for an individual, entrepreneur, student, or employee. Your first step should be to find a partner with whom you are comfortable sharing personal information. It should not be close relatives or friends, but someone who is hearing your story for the first time and naturally curious so that they can ask questions to provoke your thinking. As a second step, you need to show your partner Simon's talk so that they are aware of the entire process. Then they can understand the golden circle and be more helpful when they muster their roles. Their role is to actively listen to you and take notes to help you discover your why. The interviewer should be able to ask thoughtful questions and help you come up with themes from your life story. Thirdly, you should select a place where there will be no distractions, as you will be telling your personal stories and you will need all your concentration. Also, schedule enough time, preferably a minimum of 3 hours, so that you can complete the 3 steps of discovering your why at once. In addition, before meeting up with your partner, make sure you have jotted down the stories that you think are your life's highlights. Make sure you gather the stories of your past experiences that have shaped your life. You can use techniques such as peaks and valleys or the memory prompt to help you recollect some of your most memorable moments. And now it's time to share your story with your partner. Try to be open, specific, and go in-depth about the emotions you felt at that time. Provide 5 stories at least, but the more the better. The next step is to identify your themes from the stories you've shared with your partner. From the listed themes, get 1 or 2 outstanding themes to use for your why statement. Use the rest for the how statement. While drafting your why statement, focus on the format of 2. Contribution, so that, impact. Draft the why statement separately with your partner for 5 minutes and then consider both your drafts to make a more appealing one. Lastly, you can then refine your why statement by utilizing different methods, such as asking close friends why they are your friends. Alternatively, you might rephrase it to what instead of why, so that they can explain themselves better. Or maybe pause for a few minutes before using the why statement. Your statement does not have to sound better, but it should feel better. Chapter 4. Why Discovery for Groups. Throughout this chapter, you'll learn about the tribe approach and how to discover your why as a team as a result of a common set of values and beliefs. In the tribe approach, there are nested whys, which refer to the why of subgroups within a larger organization. This is to ensure that individuals work in companies and teams in which they fit in. Achieving this will boost employee morale and make them more productive. When you set up the tribe workshop for the why discovery of the whole organization, you should also do a personal why discovery for the founder. In most cases, the founder's why has something to do with the entire organization. Ideally, the why of the organization should be identified before that of its subgroups in order to ensure they are all aligned. If there are pending problems before commencing with the tribe approach, then the problem needs to be resolved before proceeding with the why discovery. To prepare for the tribe workshop, there are certain steps you should take. First of all, find a facilitator with the ability to ask probing questions and who is less familiar with the company. If you cannot find one, we will give you some tips on how to become one yourself, or on how to work with a colleague if you are uncomfortable with outsiders knowing your business. Furthermore, the author explains here that the company's why is not about what they hope to become one day, but rather who they are as a company. It is crucial for the facilitator to provide a safe space for everyone to share ideas and open up, regardless of their rank in the company. Individuals should also feel comfortable talking to the facilitator. Secondly, the facilitator should prepare for the workshop. Participants should consist of a minimum of 10 people from different departments and a maximum of 30. Besides, participants should be passionate about the company and have long-standing experience there, but a few new employees should also be included. You should also allow at least 4 hours for the session to go smoothly. Select the right environment to stimulate creativity, create privacy, and reduce distractions. Set up the room before the workshop and include flip charts on easels for referring to ideas afterward, markers, and arrange the furniture in a horseshoe pattern. Make sure you have a working projector and screen for everyone to see. Chapter 5. Why Discovery for Groups. In this chapter, we examine the actual workshop for tribe approach. During this workshop, participants speak with the facilitator. There are 3 major steps to follow when starting the tribe why discovery process within a group. Establishing the context is the first step in discovering the tribe's why. Usually this takes 45 to 60 minutes, and it is part of the facilitator's role. Let the participants know they are welcome to participate fully in the workshop and not worry about the work they are about to do at the moment. To build a relationship with them as you take over the floor, tell them about your why or give some of the examples in this book. This will help them feel comfortable sharing with you. Then partner your participants or make 3 groups if your number is odd. Ask them to think back when each of them joined the organization and come up with what has kept them motivated to come to work every day. Mix the participants so strangers can exchange ideas actively and limit the sharing to 4 to 6 minutes. Once you have gained full engagement from all your participants, you can explain the golden circle to them all. Encourage your participants to have an open mind to create an environment where they can discover the company's why. Then, you get to run the whole tribe approach. A 3-step conversation guide can be used for this. Rather than the actual words said, it has more to do with the atmosphere in the room. Do this by dividing people into 3 groups: the left, right, and rear. After that, each group is then assigned a flip chart and easel, and the prompt for discussion is projected on the screen for easy reference. Provide fresh prompts so that participants get to share their first thoughts in the groups, along with some guidelines from the facilitator. The first conversation should focus on human differences. At least 3 phrases representing stories that elicit emotional reactions from people should be written down by each team. The exercise should take about 20 minutes. During the presentation, teams should show the audience their most captivating stories. The facilitator is expected to probe for more details from these stories within 25 to 35 minutes. The second conversation is about the contributions of the organization to people's lives. A new page of the chart must be flipped to accommodate this discussion. Contributors should use verbs or action phrases since these have already been accomplished by the organization. In order to keep participants from becoming aspirational, these action phrases should be backed up by existing stories. This should take about 10 minutes since it is a simple task that only requires 10 verbs from each team. There is then a 15-minute brainstorming session on the power of verbs for defining the why statement. Adding a 15-minute break can enhance this, but you can decide when to give participants a break as the facilitator. The refreshments in the room will make the whole process easier. Following the break, Conversation 3 can last at least 15 minutes. It's about the impact of the organization's contribution to others and how it changed their lives. Your participants should be encouraged to identify the impacts of their stories and how they felt or were emotionally connected to them. The discussion can last 15 to 20 minutes, followed by 20 to 30 minutes of sharing the information with the whole group. Once you have collected all the information, write it on the flip chart for the whole group to see. From there, you can proceed to draft your why statement. It should take about 30 to 40 minutes. Come up with candidate why statements, which consist of coupling 2 statements in order to come up with one that works for the entire organization. The format to contribution, so that impact, is recommended to draft the why statement. Conversations 1 and 2 correspond to the contribution, while Conversation 3 corresponds to the impact statement. Afterwards, split the whole group into 2 and let each group agree on a why statement that will be shown to the entire group. After about 25 minutes, teams should have enough time to develop compelling candidates' why statements. Taking this time will prevent people from rushing with their why statements. During the next 5 to 10 minutes, both teams should present their statements by explaining their why statements and then connecting them to 2 stories that they shared. Depending on which statement the group agrees on for candidates' why, the draft will then be created. People should then refine the statement to make it more actionable and relatable. At the end of the session, you can help the participants channel their energy into ways of practicing their why. Chapter 6. State your hows. Hows are actions that we perform to ensure that we can achieve our why. Therefore, they are not aspirational, since they are based on your past experiences and on your why list. Each individual's hows are their strengths, so both individuals and tribes can use the remaining themes to their advantage. The hows provide a shared language that helps people to easily see others' strengths and lean into others to get things done. Using our hows allows us to create environments where we can be of our best nature. It is important to acquire opportunities that will enable us to make an impact on other people's lives, as well as leave us feeling fulfilled. Our hows can act as filters so that we only receive opportunities that are aligned with our values. Put your hows into practice by coming up with measures to clarify how you will do so. Based on your hows, you can make important decisions. Your hows will serve as tools for accomplishing things. For an organization, it is the same as that of individuals. Their hows represent the guiding principles and core values derived from the themes during the why discovery. In most, compare aspirational and not what the company is already doing. They are what the company wants its employees to do, and they are not actions. Therefore, they are not the company's how. The latter are always actionable and simple as they tell employees what they should do to achieve the company's core values. Turning the remaining themes from the why discovery process can be done in 3 steps for both individuals and tribes. First of all, narrowing down the remaining themes to 5 or 4 major ones requires a lot of effort. Either combine themes that have similar meanings to eliminate redundancy, or stick with the one that sounds better and eliminates the other. After that, state your hows by turning the themes into actionable statements, not just values. Instead of using be when stating your hows, the writer suggests stating what you have to do. Choose your words carefully so that they resonate with your emotions. As a result, you will be able to easily put your hows into action, since you have an attachment with them even for your tribe. The final step is to provide context to the hows you've started. This can be done by writing a few simple descriptions of what the how looks like in practice so that you can act accordingly. Then you can conclude the process by noting the what. Written with clear examples, this book is a practical guide to discovering your why, how, and what statements. Chapter 7. Take a stand. This last chapter is about sharing your why and how to live it as you put it into practice. It is about doing what one says they believe in and making the why statement come true in all areas of life. Sharing the why statement is also part of it. It is not always comfortable to share your why, but like riding a bike, you have to keep doing it until you become an expert. By doing this, you will be able to find people who share your values so that you can have meaningful exchanges. When people wonder what you are talking about, you'll fall at first, just like when you ride a bike for the first time. But can you add it to your chit-chats or mention it when people ask what you do? Always start with why you do it and elaborate from there. Here are a few steps to follow to share with a tribe. It is easier for tribes to share their whys with each other, since they can create platforms for doing so. Assuming the founder just discovered their why statement, or participants in a tribe approach why discovery has to share it with the rest of the organization, here is a 3-step process for 50 people within 3 to 4 hours. This process can be facilitated by your why discovery facilitator as well. In this process, your first candidates should be those who participated in the last session, as they will be more enthusiastic. Furthermore, this can make your work easier, since the early adopters of the innovation will distribute the work to others. It is important to share the why discovery process with everyone present, regardless of whether they participated or not. Update everyone in the room about what happened and the experience that occurred to arrive at a final draft of the why statement. Be sure that the group actively participates in the conversation by asking questions when they do not understand. In most cases, it takes between 60 to 75 minutes, but it is advisable to let this process drag on for as long as possible, since it is the basic step that will help get everyone fully involved and anticipate the next steps. After revealing the tribe's why statement, the next step is to encourage everyone to own it. When you arrive at the why statement, let all the group members roll it around their tongues so that they feel comfortable using it. To display all of this data, you may also use flip charts previously used for the why discovery. Most people may not resonate with the why statement, and you do not have to force them to believe it. Tell them that it's a draft that may still need some refinement. By encouraging them to share stories that resonate with the group's why, you can make them feel ownership of the statement. They might be able to explain why they are still at the company or some of the values they share. Continue the process of teams writing on flip charts and then reporting to the whole group. Approximately 45 to 60 minutes should be required. People have to take ownership of the why statement when they connect their personal stories to it. The third step involves looking for new opportunities, as the promise and value of the why have just as much to do with the future as it does with the past. Through this conversation of possibility, we have to think about much bigger things as a way of progressing away from safe practices. In this discussion, no idea is stupid, and no one is held accountable for their ideas. Anyone can come up with an idea, and others can add to it to make it better. In other words, there are no restrictions and commitments on the ideas people pitch. Sharing is fine as long as it is related to the organization's why. Thereafter, proceed to the what's that the company can do next, and then get commitments from those who want to participate. Follow this up by encouraging everyone to live their whys, so it is not just a piece of paper in a drawer. A company's whys can easily fade away, causing a split, so it is important to keep it alive as the company grows. To implement this, create a culture that puts people first. Storytelling has also become a critical component for businesses to keep their why alive. It provides inspiration to many and leads to long-term fulfillment.